Hey there, this is building an iOS app with C Sharp, Module 4, Video 7. In this video we're going to design and build our audio service. So the contract is going to be very simple. And the implementation as well won't be too difficult. So what we need our audio service to be able to do is obviously just play some audio. And the way we're going to tell it to do that is to give it the URI of the audio to play. And it would be nice if we could do this asynchronously. I mean, the actual playback of the audio on iOS at least is asynchronous, so it'd be nice if we could manifest that in our API like this. So that's the interface. Let's do the implementation, and again this is an iOS specific service. So it would go in our services.ios project. Now, first thing, we need to ensure that we're not being given a null resource URI. Okay, so the way we play audio on iOS is by way of an AV audio player object. It needs a URL in the form of a NS URL, which we can just create using our resource URI. From URL. And then we can call play on this to start the playback of the audio. This obviously will not suffice for our purposes, because we also need to know when it's finished. Even if we didn't, even if this was void and we weren't trying to do this asynchronously, this is not enough because nothing has a reference to this audio player, therefore it's eligible for garbage collection. So midway through our audio playback it could suddenly stop as it's collected. So we need to hold on to this audio player until it's finished, and we need to make sure that we can have as many calls to this play async in flight at once. We don't want to set any artificial limits in the service itself. So any number of audio players could be active at any one time, and as they finish we will clean up the reference to them so that they can be garbage collected. So what we're going to do is have a private dictionary mapping the AV audio player to a task completion source. Oops. Let's call this active audio players. Task completion source needs a type. Even though technically we're just returning a task, there is no non-generic version of task completion source, so we'll just use boolean. Every time this play async method gets called, we will create a new task completion source first. Now we can map the player to the task completion source. and that has the side effect of keeping a reference to it, so we know we're not going to prematurely garbage collect that. And we need some way of knowing when it's finished playing, and thankfully there's an event that tells us exactly that. I think I'll do this in a separate method. Event args, I guess. Let's try that. So the audio player is just going to be the sender. So given the audio player, we can get our task completion source. Now technically this should always be in our dictionary, but we will add a assertion here just in case something goes wrong. Contains the key audio player. So now that we have our task completion source, we can remove the AV audio player from our dictionary. We can complete our task completion source. And this is the only real tricky part. And this, I found this in my other projects where I needed something similar to this. We have to dispose of the audio player on the synchronization context thread. So on the UI thread, we have to make sure we dispose of it there. And I mean, technically, we could just let it go and have it finalize instead, but just trying to do the right thing in terms of resource management. We don't need any state here. Alright, so just to review what's going on here. So when a request to play an audio file comes in, we create a task completion source, we create the audio player based on the resource URI, we cache that audio player in our dictionary, and we map it to the task completion source. Then we hook into the finish playing event, so we know when the audio is finished playing, and then we start playing it. Now when it's finished playing, we cast the sender to the audio player object, and we're then able to get the associated task completion source. We can remove the audio player from the dictionary, we can set the task completion source result, and we can post to the synchronization context thread a message to dispose of the audio player proactively rather than just waiting for garbage collection and finalization to do that work. Okay, so that's the audio service. Again, there's no easy way to test this. About the only thing we could test easily is that this throws, and that's just not worth testing. Certainly when you consider the fact that I have to create a separate project because our current unit test project is a portable class library, so we wouldn't be able to test iOS specific code anyway. So what I'm going to do is just grab an audio file, stick it in our main UI project here, and just tack in a bit of code to play that audio file, and hopefully you guys will be able to hear it through my speakers. Okay, I'm back. I probably should have tried building before I left because I forgot this line here. Obviously we need to return the task, which in our case, because we're using a task completion source, we just dereference the task in the task completion source. Okay, so what I've done is I've downloaded a sound. I have to give attribution here. So this is a sound I've downloaded from Freesound. I hope that counts as my attribution. And this is what we're expecting to hear. Okay, so What I've done is I've added that WAV file to the main UI project, set it as content copy of newer, and in my app delegate I'm newing up our audio service and then asking it to play sample.wav. So let's run this, see how we go. So I've hit my breakpoint, I'm going to step through it now and hopefully we hear the sound. There we go, excellent. So that's it for this video. I will catch you in the next one. Cheers.